What's up, YouTube? So there's been some big news very lately about Nikola that kind of brings the whole thing full circle. That news is that Worthington Industries, the very same Worthington Industries who made this Nikola stuff possible, has now completely divested from Nikola Corporation. The brief version is that Nikola only got where it was because of a $2 million seed investment from Worthington into Nikola shortly after Nikola was founded. Nikola then flaunted this relationship to attract more investors and create prototypes that it could show to investors to attract yet more attention. Now, after many months of Nikola being called fraudulent, Worthington has completely divested from Nikola. And now comes the detailed explanation. As you may or may not already know, Nikola was the brainchild of Trevor Milton. However, this was by no means Trevor's first business. So he started an alarm sales company immediately after quitting college called St. George Security and Alarm, or SGS Alarms, and he exited the business for a stated $300,000, though his former business partner claims he was led to believe the exit payment was much smaller, which is actually something covered in this Hindenburg report. Milton then launched an online classified ads website selling used cars, which eventually failed. In case you didn't know, this is the company upillar.com. Afterwards, Milton founded an alternative energy vehicle company called D-Hybrid Inc., which retrofitted commercial trucks with engines that could run on natural gas instead of diesel. So D-Hybrid landed a truck conversion deal with Swift Transportation, leading to a mid-2012 lawsuit predicated on D-Hybrid's failure to deliver on its agreement. Okay, so the wiki page is slightly inaccurate after this. What actually happened is that Trevor founded a new company called D-Hybrid Systems, which is deceptively similar to the original D-Hybrid. This name confusion was intentional, in my opinion, especially given that the businesses were doing essentially the same thing. Trevor then went on to sell D-Hybrid Systems to Worthington, though Worthington promptly wrote down D-Hybrid Systems' asset value due to some potentially fatal flaws with the product, allegedly. However, it was a very successful deal for Trevor. So the exact details of what happened next are a bit confusing. The Miltons seem to have founded yet another company called Blue Gen Tech, though this became a subsidiary of Worthington. Blue Gen Tech was the original owner of all the Nikola trademarks before Nikola Corporation was founded, and then the trademarks were either transferred to them or acquired by them. So either way, Worthington invested $2 million into Nikola, allegedly in the hopes that it could make its money back from the bad deal it got from D-Hybrid Systems. So at this point, Worthington was allegedly fully aware of Nikola's inadequacies and its founders' alleged willingness to scam some pretty large companies, given that they supposedly had already been scammed themselves. However, as Nikola flaunted its relationship with the much more credible engineering giant Worthington, it attracted more and more investors, all sold on the idea of the promise of hydrogen and Nikola marketing itself as the Tesla of trucking, which is its own issue in and of itself. Plenty of videos talking about that. All the while, Worthington was making bank on their investment. As each new investor came in and valued the company higher and higher, Worthington's initial $2 million was becoming insanely higher and higher itself. By the time Nikola went public, Worthington's stake in the company inflated to a peak of over $1 billion, so it's a huge increase on the original $2 million. Some speculate that the promise of such insane returns is what convinced Worthington Industries to stick with Nikola, something I also believe to be true. I mean, if you believe that anyone has a price, then I think $1 billion is definitely up there. In any case, Worthington still wanted to capitalise on these gains. That's exactly what they did. For some reason never discussed by Nikola, Worthington had a highly unique lockup structure. If you didn't know already, when a company goes public or a new large investor comes in, investors are usually required to hold the shares that they've purchased for a stated period of time, possibly a year, 2 years, 6 months, or whatever. For almost everyone, in Nikola's case, This lockup date ended at the start of December. And this is Tom Nash explaining how it was for Worthington instead.
For some reason, Worthington Industries signed a separate lockup agreement, allowing them to sell 5 million of their shares 30 days after the merger, which means the beginning of July, which they did. On the minute they could, they sold those shares on, I think, July 7th or 8th. And another 7 million they could sell 90 days after the agreement, which they did on the minute. They counted 90 days and they sold.
Tom makes great content, by the way. You should definitely check him out and subscribe to him. But anyway, as you can see, Worthington had a very unique lockup, which is highly suspicious. So basically everyone else had 6 months of not being able to buy or sell shares. But Worthington had this unique structure where they could sell a third of their ownership after 1 month, the next third after like 3 months or whatever it was, and then the last third a short while after that. So all in all, they managed to make over $500 million on that investment, which is an incredible 250x, in fact more than that. This is exactly why I and many others have long believed Nikola to be a Ponzi scheme purely to get the Miltons rich, which is exactly what has happened. The fact that Worthington was also allegedly in on this was required to kickstart the whole thing. If they didn't have Worthington, they never would have snowballed the investor clout, essentially. And that brings us to today's news, which is that Worthington has finally sold the last 7 million shares of Nikola, and with a seemingly well-timed, or possibly allegedly manufactured rise in the stock price to over $20 a share. So I mean, what I'm talking about is this, seemingly on news that is immaterial. So Worthington's involvement with Nikola is finally over, at least financially. The SEC and DOJ investigations are still underway, and this story has not concluded, but it has now come full circle. Alright, that's the end of this video. Thanks for watching this far. I will provide links for all the resources I used in this video in the description. If you want to subscribe, share, like, comment, or whatever, that'd be awesome. Also, as always, if you have any requests for a video, don't hesitate to ask. You can follow me on Twitter at NikolaTruth, and any UK citizen can use my referral link for Trading 212 to get a free share worth up to £100 for both of us. Okay, that's all I have to say. See you later, YouTube. Peace out.